Good morning. Welcome to our Bird Notes. This is Dwight Davis. Is there any bird as boisterous as the bluejay? He's the neighborhood scold, commenting loudly on just about everything. According to Mark Twain, there's even more to the bluejay than meets the eye, or ear. Twain's appreciation of the bird is found in the words of one Jim Baker in the short story, What Stumped the Bluejays? Baker is described as a middle-aged, simple-hearted miner who had lived in a lonely corner of California among the woods and the mountains. Now that brings up a question, but we'll discuss that later. First, this description of the bluejay. There's more to the bluejay than any other creature. He has got more moods and more different kinds of feelings than any creatures. And mind you, whatever a bluejay feels, he can put into language. And no mere commonplace language either, but rattling out-and-out book talk, and bristling with metaphor too, just bristling. And as for command of language, why, you never did see a bluejay get stuck for a word. No man ever did. They just boil out of him. And another thing, I've noticed a good deal, and there's no bird or cow or anything that uses as good grammar as a bluejay. You may say a cat uses good grammar. Well, a cat does. But you let a cat get excited once. You let a cat get to pulling fur with another cat on a shed nights, and you'll hear grammar that will give you the lockjaw. Ignorant people think that it's the noise which fighting cats make that is so aggravating, but it ain't so. It's the sickening grammar they use. Now, I've never heard a jay use bad grammar, but very seldom. And when they do, they're as ashamed as a human. They shut right down and leave. You may call a jay a bird. Well, so he is in a measure, because he's got feathers on him and don't belong to no church, perhaps. But otherwise, he is just as much a human as you be. And I'll tell you why. A jay's gifts and instincts and feelings and interests cover the whole ground. A jay hasn't got any more principle than a congressman. A jay will lie, a jay will steal, a jay will deceive, a jay will betray. And 4 times out of 5, a jay will go back on his solemnness promise. The sacredness of an obligation is a thing you can't cram into no bluejay's head. Now, on top of all this, there's another thing. A jay can outswear any gentleman in the mines. You think a cat can swear? Well, a cat can. But you give a bluejay a subject that calls for his reserve powers, and where is your cat? Don't talk to me, I know too much about this thing. And there's yet another thing. In the one little particular of scolding, just good, clean, out-and-out scolding, a bluejay can lay over anything, human or divine. Yes, sir, a jay is everything that a man is. A jay can cry, a jay can laugh, a jay can feel shame, a jay can reason and plan and discuss. A jay likes gossip and scandal. A jay has got a sense of humor. A jay knows when he is an ass just as well as you do, maybe better. If a jay ain't human, he better take in his sign, that's all. The bluejay as perceived by Mark Twain. And now, a search for the actual feathered inspiration of the tale. If the teller Jim Baker lived in California, as the story relates, he would not be familiar with what we call the bluejay, a bird of the eastern half of the U.S. The western counterpart of the bluejay is its close relative, the Steller's jay. Steller's jay is a rich blue with a crested brown head. So it is a blue jay. It shares the genus name Cyanoceta with the eastern bluejay, as well as its garrulousness and braggadocio. Mark Twain would have encountered both birds in his travels, but in the story he did not distinguish between them. But, as Huckleberry Finn says, that ain't no matter. Both are blue with a crest and an attitude.